It took him just 18 days, and President-elect Trump is already done filling out his cabinet. And so far, although did he name SBA? I don't think so. The American people are liking what they are seeing. 59% approve of Trump's handling of the presidential transition. A majority excited or optimistic about what he'll do as president. With numbers like that, it's no surprise the so-called resistance, air quotes, is losing steam. Axios notes this. While President-elect Trump's 2016 win sparked shock, outrage, and massive protest, the response to the 2024 victory has been more muted. Still, not everyone's ready to throw in the towel. Some D.C. residents are urging other Airbnb owners to not rent their homes to pro-Trump travelers for the inauguration in January, saying that we do not welcome hate, misogyny, or intentions to take over D.C. However, only a few owners have actually signed up for this thus far. Judge, let's start with you. I mean, these numbers, it's not unusual for a typical president-elect to get a bump. I remember Obama was over 60% a short time after his election. He's up to 58%, 59% on the people that he named already. Your thoughts about America revisiting the Trump 2 team?
You know, it's interesting. I mean, there is so much excitement right now in this country by so many people I run into. I mean, there's a friend of mine in California. He's a doctor, and we don't talk about politics that much. I mean, he's sending me all these gifts of the Giphies with dancing and everything else. People are very happy. Everybody's happy. And the fact that 59% are supporting the president's choices is really an indication that people are ready for the change that Donald Trump promised. They are ready to move out the illegals. They are ready for an economy that works. They are ready for law and order. And he's got people like Pam Bondi. I love Pam Bondi for Attorney General. As the president said, she is smart. She is loyal. She's tough, and she's in America first. Most of these people are in there based on merit. These aren't political favors. These are not DEI. There's none of that stuff. These are people who have been chosen based on merit and based on qualifications. And I guess, you know, the real campaign of joy is really not Kamala's, but Donald Trump's in the end. Joy and unity.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I would say a couple other things. I like when they're introduced or their name is dropped. It's not first Hawaiian, first woman chief of staff. You make the assessment afterwards and say, wait, Susan Wiles, is there a chief of, is she the first? Oh, yeah, she is the first woman. Yeah. Because it makes you think of the qualifications, not the gender. Harold, not to put a damper on what the judge said, but they say in terms of people who are happy with the American people, 31% are happy, 24% are satisfied, 23% are dissatisfied. They say 4% of Democrats are excited, 54% of Republicans are excited. Where do you stand in that, and how do you reflect that? Take in those numbers, take a moment, we'll sit in silence, and then think about it.
We had an election. I accept the results in elections. As it relates to this cabinet, part of why I think people are generally excited and have some optimism. This is a unique cabinet that President Trump has assembled so far. You think about it, you have a labor secretary designee in a Republican Party who supported legislation in Congress last year to give people a right to unionize. She was endorsed by unions. You have a HHS secretary, Health and Human Services secretary, who's a Kennedy. And then you have Marco Rubio, and he who had an outing back in 2016, some exchange of words. This is a different kind of cabinet. I think people, the American people, are going to be watching these hearings and will give him the benefit of the doubt. But the second set of numbers, before you asked me about the 54%, those are the numbers that really signal to me that this election was a normal election in many ways, and that people made a calculation about who could make their lives better, who could make their lives safer, who could make them feel more secure with their kids and their communities and their lives. And you know what? Donald Trump won that. Democrats need to understand that. And over the next 2 months, as we go through the confirmation process, we'll learn things about nominees. We'll learn things we like, learn things we don't like, learn things we support and that we don't support. But I think President Trump is getting the benefit of the doubt of the American people, as he should.
2 nominees got really high marks. RFK, number 1. It's just one poll. And number 2 is Rubio. Jesse, are you surprised by that?
No, I'm not. People like these picks, and they like that they're coming out fast because he kept the momentum after the election, so it's exciting. It has our attention. And they're big names, and they're ideologically diverse. They're from outside of Washington. Sorry, but when Joe Biden nominated Blinken, There was no excitement at all. These names pop. And I also like the fact that Trump's laying low, working at Mar-a-Lago behind the scenes. And he's not on TV the whole time. The country needed a little bit of a break after seeing all these images of him and Biden and Kamala and all these advertisements. It's smart because it shows he's decisive and he's taking it seriously. And I also appreciate the fact that there is not bipartisan support from some of these nominees. Democrats have controlled Washington for 12 of the last 16 years, and we've had fundamental problems in this country. And they've been rubber stamped by the bipartisanship in the Senate. So if there's a little question, good. I'm glad they're questioning it. It's like a landscaper, Brian. You know, your lawn has been spotty and patchy, and it's brown, and you've been using the same landscaper for 10 years. Time for a new hire. Let's get Tulsi, let's get Pete, let's get RFK in there. Cut some lawns.
So my landscaper, when my lawn came up bad, I asked my landscaper, what's the problem? He blamed the water. And so I dug a well. So it's up to him now. This is going to be my first year with a well water. More on this later. Dana, the other thing, it's a true story. The other thing is Musk and Vivek. Right? Musk and Vivek are actually are hiring people. They're hiring very accomplished people that have dealt in the past with government.
And in fact, we're going to talk about that in the next block, which will be great. You just love a deep tease, don't you?
Right, I do.
But I would just say this. I think one of the frustrating things of the last 4 years has been a lack of desire by the people in charge for one. They didn't seem to want to solve any problems. They didn't want to solve inflation. They didn't want to solve immigration. They didn't want to take on the crime issue. They just didn't want to do anything. And now you have this group, they want to do everything, and they want to do it all at once, and they are ready to go to hit the ground running.
Yeah, I feel like it's not. I noticed we didn't bring up Republican. It's really not Republican or Democrat. What Trump wanted, this is his team, and it's so blended. I saw Michael Beschloss, a huge critic of Trump. He's an historian. You probably know him. Of course. I've interviewed him before, and he said it's a very. We have usually see things like this in Europe. It's such a diverse culture.
He's the one who told Biden that he could be FDR, and that's how we ended up with inflation.
I think it was Meacham. That was Meacham.
I think it was a whole.
I think everybody told him that.
But in fairness, Jesse, I'm excited about every president. I think Blinken and Austin.
You were not excited about Blinken. Stop. Pulling my leg.
You can't tell Harold how he feels. That's how he feels.
Gino Raimondo. Yeah, that'll get you going.
I want more in the water well than they commercial.
I'm going to tell you in the break. Ahead.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.